Hormuz Under Fire, War, Oil, and the Global Balance.
Welcome to the bigger perspective.
For decades, the Strait of Hormuz was discussed in the language of contingency. War games modeled its closure. Intelligence briefings analyzed its vulnerabilities. Energy economists calculated its exposure risk. It was the world's most dangerous maritime choke point, in theory. That theory has now collided with reality. Military confrontation in the Gulf has moved beyond covert exchanges and calibrated deterrence. Air defense systems are active. Naval assets are maneuvering with operational intent. Strategic messaging has hardened into visible engagement. Diplomatic channels remain open, but they no longer dominate events. And at the center of global concern lies a narrow stretch of water between Iran and Oman. At its narrowest point, just 21 miles across, the Strait of Hormuz. Nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes through this corridor each day. A substantial share of global liquefied natural gas exports follows the same route. For many economies, this is not an optional pathway. It is foundational infrastructure. This conflict is not solely about territorial or ideological rivalry. It is a stress test of the modern global system, an examination of how tightly interconnected economies respond when one of their most vital arteries comes under strain. Tonight, we assess the military realities, the market reactions, the geopolitical recalibrations, and the structural consequences now unfolding. Calmly, strategically, without exaggeration. On a global map, the Strait of Hormuz appears narrow and unremarkable. In the architecture of energy logistics, it is indispensable. Between 17 and 20 million barrels of oil transit this corridor daily. Gulf producers rely on it to reach global markets. Much of the world's spare production capacity is concentrated within this same region. The vulnerability is not new. During the 1980s tanker war, oil shipments were attacked repeatedly amid the Iran-Iraq conflict. And yet, despite intense hostility, full closure never materialized. What differs today is not geography, but capability and connectivity. Missile systems are more advanced, drone warfare is more precise, cyber operations now accompany kinetic force. Total closure of the strait would be operationally difficult, but systemic shock does not require total closure. It requires friction, delays, insurance withdrawal, escalating threat perception. The power of the strait lies not only in its oil flow, but in the leverage created by uncertainty. Open hostilities alter maritime calculations immediately. Commercial vessels operate under heightened risk protocols. War risk insurance premiums surge. Shipping companies reassess schedules. The strategic objective for global naval actors is not territorial dominance. It is continuity of commerce. The strait does not need to be sealed to be contested, and contested transit is sufficient to create economic tremors. Energy markets are highly responsive to geopolitical risk. When a primary supply route faces credible threat, oil prices adjust immediately. Strategic petroleum reserves can moderate short-term spikes, but reserves are finite tools. They provide breathing space, not permanent insulation. Markets can withstand shock. What they struggle to absorb is prolonged unpredictability. Duration more than intensity determines whether conflict becomes economic restructuring. Conflict in the Gulf triggers calculations far beyond the region. Systemic maritime collapse benefits no one. Energy interdependence creates an unusual paradox. Even rivals share incentive to prevent total breakdown. Short disruptions test resilience. Extended conflict reshapes architecture. This is not collapse, it is adaptation. Behind every barrel statistic stands a household. If oil prices remain elevated, transportation costs increase. Food prices follow, maritime security becomes domestic economics, quietly, systemically, persistently. History suggests that sustained total closure of major choke points is uncommon, yet uncertainty persists. The line between calculated restraint and unintended escalation is thin, and thin lines carry disproportionate consequence when global systems are tightly interconnected. The Strait of Hormuz is more than a shipping route. It is a symbol of the delicate architecture of global stability. War may begin regionally, but in a deeply interconnected system, consequences rarely remain confined. The strait is small, its leverage is immense, and in a world bound together by narrow corridors and shared dependencies, stability is never automatic, it is sustained deliberately. What are your thoughts on today's analysis? We'd value your perspective. Share your insights respectfully in the comments below. Thoughtful discussion makes these conversations stronger. If you found this documentary informative and balanced, consider liking the video and subscribing for more in-depth global analysis. Until next time, thank you for watching.